Social media has made breastfeeding look so easy and so natural. And while breastfeeding is natural, it's definitely not always easy. In this video, I'm not only going to talk about how to increase your milk supply, but I also want to share the things that I've tried and what actually worked for me. So stick around to the end. I'm Annabelle Carney, and I love helping mamas just like you have a better birth experience. So if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ding the little bell down below. So there's this huge mental load as a mom, especially in the immediate postpartum phase. And as a breastfeeding mama myself, I know that a common worry is whether or not you're producing enough milk for your baby. Oftentimes, the answer is yes, you are, but there are cases of true low milk supply for various reasons. It's estimated that about 30% of women stop breastfeeding because they believe they are not producing enough milk, or some just don't know exactly how to increase their milk supply. So, to boost your supply, let's bring it back to the basics. Now, remember that it's super important to nourish yourself. Your body needs the extra calories, energy, and extra nutrients to fuel you and your baby. So prioritize real whole foods like oatmeal, sweet potatoes, various proteins, nuts, and veggies over empty calories like cereals, pastries, and fast food. Next up, hydration. Stay hydrated by drinking at least half of your body weight in ounces. And if drinking lots of water is difficult for you, you can also add to your daily water intake by consuming high water content foods like cucumbers, watermelons, strawberries. Breast milk is about 88% water, and the amount of liquid you put into your body affects how much breast milk you can produce. So if you're in the newborn phase, keep filled water bottles around the house or in common areas that you nurse so it's ready to go, because you never know how long you're going to be there. I also prefer staying hydrated by adding trace minerals or electrolyte packets like Element to ice cold water, or just by drinking coconut water. I'll make sure to link everything down in the description box below. Next up is to de-stress. Try to find ways to reduce your stress levels. Stress can deplete milk supply, and the irony of that is having low milk supply brings on stress, and that stress lowers your supply even further, and it's cyclical. So maybe schedule an hour of self-care a week, take a bath, meditate, listen to breastfeeding affirmations, watch a funny movie while nursing. However de-stressing looks for you, try to do it to reduce as much stress as possible. And last but not least, make sure baby has a nice deep latch. If you hear clicking and no audible swallows while baby is nursing, they're not latched deep enough. If you have pain, it's likely not an effective latch. So break the suction and reposition. You can break the suction by slipping a clean finger in the corner of your baby's mouth between the gums and turn your finger a quarter turn to break the seal. Also, your nipple should come out looking the same shape as it went in. And what I mean by that is if it looks squished, flattened, or has a lipstick shape to it, they're not latched correctly. So just break the suction and try again. Now, some of you may know that my breastfeeding journey was not the easiest, and I did in fact have low milk supply, and you can check that video out right here. But I had a goal of breastfeeding her until she was at least 1, so I did whatever I could before throwing in the towel. So I sought help from an IBCLC when she was about 2-ish weeks old, which was a lifesaver. And I'm just amazed that we are still going at 17 months. So I also want to bring to your attention that there are 3 levels of lactation certifications. Starting with the lowest to highest certification, the first one is a CLE, Certified Lactation Educator. Then there's CLC, Certified Lactation Counselor, and then the highest is an IBCLC, International Board Certified Lactation Consultant. So after doing my research, I felt that seeing an IBCLC was best for me. So if you're struggling with breastfeeding, don't just choose any random lactation specialist, but really assess your situation and do some research so you can have the best shot at fixing whatever problem you're having. So basically with my experience, despite feeling like I was always nursing as you should be with a newborn and also seeing an appropriate amount of wet and dirty diapers, we found out that baby girl was basically a sleepy feeder on about, I think, day 3. And that resulted in a poor latch, which then resulted in my breast not being drained, which then affected my supply because they weren't being stimulated enough. So right away, I was determined to fix her latch and support my supply. So now I want to share with you what I tried and what actually worked best for me. So one of the first things that I tried was a couple of boxes of Munchkin lactation cookies. Not gonna lie, these were super delicious, but aside from the fact that I was constantly eating them, I really didn't notice a difference in my milk supply. So these are a pass for me. Next up is Brewer's yeast. Yes, that stuff to make beer. Now, although there isn't much evidence-based research to support brewer's yeast as an actual galactolog, it's a healthy supplement that many moms swear by. It's rich in B vitamins, proteins, and other minerals, so I ordered a bag and made my own lactation cookies so I could be in control of the ingredients and the amount of sugar. And although the back of the bag says double your supply, I can't say that I noticed the difference. But because I put them in cookies, it's hard to say that if I was even getting enough per cookie. But it was hard for me to keep on making these anyways, so I probably made about 2 batches and stopped. Soon after trying brewer's yeast, I was able to see the lactation consultant, and we basically worked on her latch and experimenting with different positions. I was also started on a supplement and feeding regimen, and which consisted of goat's rue and brewer's yeast tablets. And I had no idea tablets were even a thing, but it was super convenient. But let's talk about goat's rue really quick. So goat's rue is a plant that has light purple flowers and belongs to the same family plant as the popular galactolog fenugreek. And it's most well known for its long history of use as an anti-diabetic herb and can have the effect of lowering blood sugars. And fun fact, this herb actually enabled scientists to create the common diabetes medication used today called metformin. So goat's rue works directly on the mammary tissues to mature it further, helping to produce more milk. And yes, there has been research done on this herb in regards to increasing milk supply, which have shown positive effects, but all of these studies are poorly controlled, so it's not considered strong evidence. But after taking it for about, I think, like 2-ish weeks, I did notice a boost in my milk supply, which was super encouraging. So overall, I do prefer brewer's yeast tablets over the powder because I was able to know the exact dosage I was getting. And even though it's hard to say which supplement actually helped my supply, I do believe that brewer's yeast supports lactation, but the goat's rue is the one that actually improved my supply. So I recommend it, and I would definitely buy it again if I ever ran into supply issues in the future. But the best thing that helped my supply was triple feeding. I feel like triple feeding isn't talked about much, and you hear a lot more about power pumping. So I just want to briefly explain what that is. So triple feeding means that you're doing 3 things every single time you feed your baby: nurse, pump, and bottle feed. So first, you nurse your baby as much as you can from both breasts. Then you pump 10 to 15 minutes after, even if little to nothing is coming out, in order to remove as much milk as possible and to stimulate your breast even further. Then you top your baby off with a bottle of either the pumped breast milk or formula. Now, although this tool did improve my milk supply, it was super stressful and exhausting and time consuming. So it's definitely not something that I would recommend to boost your supply right off the bat. And it's also not sustainable long term. I'll be making a video on triple feeding and go more in depth on this topic and experience, so stay tuned for that. So remember, breastfeeding is built on this foundation of supply and demand, and there is no magic herb, tea, lactation cookie that's going to boost your supply significantly without you putting in the work and properly draining your breast. Just keep in mind that breastfeeding is a huge learning curve for both you and your baby, so just give yourself some grace. It's not always going to be the smoothest ride, but stay positive and keep practicing. I'd say it's very similar to learning how to ride a bike or stick shift at first. There's so much thinking going on and it almost feels foreign at first, but with practice, it becomes second nature. And I also think that seeing a lactation specialist prenatally or immediately after birth is a great idea for first-time moms if you have access to one. Kalea wanted to make an appearance. So another great resource for breastfeeding support is La Leche International, and I'll link that in the description box below. But if you find yourself struggling with breastfeeding for more than a few days, I think it's best to seek out help from a lactation specialist sooner rather than later to ensure a successful breastfeeding journey if that is your goal. Thank you so much for watching and good luck on your breastfeeding journey, and I'll see you in the next video. Say bye. Blow a kiss.